A lot of people were sort of expecting the East Carolina Pirates to take a drop off from where they have been in the past couple seasons under Mike Houston last year, but nobody expected a double digit loss season. There is good news for Mike Houston's group, though. This is a team that is supposed to get better and is supposed to improve here in 2024. But can they improve enough to break their way back into the postseason? You're about to find out what I think here in this video. What's up, Tailgaters? You are in the booth with Tailgate Nate today, and I want to welcome you to my channel and welcome you to prediction season, which is almost over, guys. Thank you for the monstrous amount of support that my channel has seen this summer. It has been absolutely crazy to me, and I really appreciate all of you guys for your continuous support this summer. But if you want to help support my channel in literally any way you can, again, I can't thank you enough for watching these videos and sticking with me this prediction season. I know 134 videos is a lot. We are almost done. But if you're as big of a college football nerd as I am, I post a lot of videos during the college football season, and you're going to want to know what I have to say while we have college football in action, which means you got to subscribe, you got to ring the bell so you know when videos get uploaded. You can like, you can comment, you can share, you can do anything else to interact with the channel because it all helps support what I do here on YouTube, and I really appreciate everything that you guys have done for this channel this summer. Throughout its creation. If you've been with me for a long time, I could sit here and thank everyone for days, but you don't care about that. You want to hear me talk about the East Carolina Pirates. We will do so after I tell you how we're going to do it. We'll talk about the offense, then talk about the defense, and then give it a good old game-by-game preview and prediction for the Pirates football schedule. But a couple more things before we begin, because right over here will be the stats the team put up, whether that's offensively or defensively last season, depends which side of the ball we're talking about, and down below the team's logo, I've also put the respective coaching staffs, either again offensively or defensively, for all of you lovely people's viewing pleasure out there. So with no more further introductions, let's talk about the East Carolina Pirates here in 2024, and it just was not a great offense last season. We'll start with the offense as we usually do, and the offense last year just couldn't get anything to work. The pass game was inconsistent to just downright bad at points. The offensive line couldn't get things figured out, which led the rush game to not be very good, even though they have some really talented pieces. And look, when you take a look at this offense, yes, there were flashes and moments where this team put together some really good performances, but I don't think we saw a full, good 60-minute offensive game plan from the Pirates last season. Well, that is due to change this season, but you are losing some fairly important pieces to last year's team that are going to be gone. That sentence was very redundant. But let's start diving on in, talking about the quarterbacks. We'll run through these two guys here really quickly because neither of them provided great quarterback play to even good quarterback play for the Pirates last year. Alex Flynn has graduated, the primary starter last year, at 1,558 yards, 6 touchdowns, but 12 interceptions. That's a 2-to-1. Not touchdown to interception, but interception to touchdown ratio. And the backup Mason Garcia had the same problem. He had 408 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. You just didn't get good quarterback play last year, and both of your guys that started and played a lot in the quarterback room last year are going to be gone. You do get a guy back that did throw a couple passes, and I literally mean a couple, just 2 passes for Raheem Jeter last year, but I don't think he's going to be a factor in the starting quarterback position because either of these two guys that the Pirates and Mike Houston are bringing in through the transfer portal, I think are going to win the starting job. Jake Garcia's over from Missouri. Now, Brady Cook, again, had all the production in 2023, so this is his stat line from 2022. 803 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 4 picks. And you get Katin Hauser, who is coming over from Michigan State. 1,130 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 5 picks. Now, no matter which guy wins the job, it's not really going to surprise me, and it's definitely going to be a lot better of quarterback play than what the Pirate offense had last season. If I had to pick one, I'd probably lean a little bit towards Jake Garcia just because he's a little bit more experienced. He played in 2021 and 2022, of course, sat behind Brady Cook in 2023. Now coming in here, I think he's due for a starting role in 2024, but Katin Hauser, he's going to get some games where he's going to play a lot, if not even start, and you're probably going to see both these quarterbacks play the first game of the season, and I'll tell you why that is once we get to the schedule. But in order to understand more about this offense, let's talk about the talent surrounding the quarterback position. You lose a couple guys out of the running back room that, albeit were depth pieces, but pretty talented depth pieces, one of them being Gerald Green, who had over 100 yards last season, and then Kamaro Edmonds did have 67 yards, and both of them a pair of touchdowns each for the Pirate offense last season. So good news, you do return your top 2 leading rushers. That would be Rajai Harris, who had 485 yards and 5 touchdowns, and then Javius Bond as well, 231 yards and a touchdown for him. he had 5.8 yards per carry, while Harris was only sitting there with around 3.8. Regardless, getting your top two leading rushers back is big, and the rush game should be better here in 2023. Marlon Gunn Jr. also does come back. He had 24 carries and 65 yards last year. Should see an increased role this season. And London Montgomery is a guy that you do have coming over from the transfer portal. He's a Penn State transfer, so yeah, could play some pretty big minutes in this running back room there as well. You do lose a couple really good pieces out of the wide receiver room. One of them being your second, or I should say, you lose your second and third leading receiver from last season because Jalen Johnson has gone off to the NFL. 466 yards on 45 catches for 2 touchdowns last year, and Josiah Hatfield will also be gone as well. 341 yards and a touchdown for him. Again, not a lot of production from the wide receiver room in terms of touchdowns last season, but again, Johnson, Hatfield, some of the better receivers on the team from last year are gone, and then you do lose Shane Calhoun, your leading receivers, or I should say your lead receiver among tight end last season. 119 yards, 15 catches, and 2 touchdowns for Calhoun last year. So that's what you lose out of the pass catching room. But what do you get back? Well, notice Johnson and Hatfield were the second and third leading receivers on that team. And while both of them were really talented, you still get your leading receiver from last year back. That is Chase Sowell, 622 yards on a team high 47 catches with a lone touchdown last season. Jahari Patterson, Brock Spalding, Kalen Robinson, and many others will return to the offensive line room. Those are the 4 guys that will play the biggest role, including these 2 transfers right here. Anthony Smith and Winston Wright Jr. are both coming in here to this program. Now, Winston Wright Jr. coming over from Florida State, Anthony Smith from NC State, and Winston Wright is definitely going to get some starting minutes and could definitely be battling Chase Sowell for the team's leading receiver this season. If you want my opinion, I think Winston Wright's going to be it. But again, Chase Sowell right there with him. You do return a couple guys in the tight end room, such as Desirio Riles and Tyler Savage. But you do get a guy in from the portal in Casey Kelly. He's an Oregon transfer. And guys, this is a pass catching room that's bringing in some very, very talented transfers and is going to see its significant improvement along with the quarterback position here in 2024. Now on the offensive line, you lose Owen Murphy due to graduation. Richard Pierce has gone through the portal, but you do still return some really important pieces off of last year's offensive line. Dustin Hall, Parker Moore, Hampton Ergel, and Jacob Sacra will be battling for starting positions this year, if not already locking them down, while Darius Bell, Jason Tarpe, and Carson Jones will be coming in through the transfer portal to help out this offensive line this season. I mean, look, when you talk about this offense in 2024, there is just no doubt that literally everything has to get better. You need quarterback play to improve. You need more production out of your wide receivers. The run game has to get better, and all of that is not going to get better unless the offensive line takes it a step up from where it was last season as well. You just need everything on the offense to improve, and I think it will. I don't see the offense being as bad as it was last year. You get 2 very semi-experienced in Kane Hauser's case, but pretty experienced, pretty darn good quarterbacks. That is immediately going to be an improvement on this offense and lead to a couple more wins than they had last season. You get a lot of talented portal pieces in, and it just depends on how everything else with this offense fits together. But if the quarterback play improves, and I think it's going to significantly, you're going to see this offense improve for the Pirates here in 2024. When you go ahead and talk about the defensive side of the ball for East Carolina, this side of the ball honestly was not that bad last year. Yes, you'd like the secondary to take it a step up here in 2024, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But the rush defense really was pretty good. The third down percentage obviously is not that fantastic, but overall, I mean, so some solid production there in that or I should say from this defensive end. They seriously were pretty solid last year. The offense held them back from winning games that this defense definitely kept this team in. And my apologies to all the special teams lovers out there. I forgot the special teams coordinator for East Carolina, Andre Powell, is now listed down there. Yes, you get a name drop here in this video, Mr. Andre Powell. Doubt he's this. You take a look here at the defensive talent and what is leaving this team. Well, no notable pieces are gone that I can find here off this defensive line. So you return pretty much everyone that had a really big impact to the defensive front last season. Leading tackler from the defensive front, Chad Stevens, is back. 39 tackles, 3.5 sacks for him last year. Deonta Johnson did lead this team in sacks last year. He had 4 of them. He's coming back, as well as all the names here that follows. Elijah Morris, Samuel Donka, Sweerod Ware, hopefully I'm saying that name correctly, CJ Mims, and J.D. Lampley, as well as just bulking this defensive lineup through the transfer portal. You get Raheem Craig that is coming in here to this program. He could play a pretty vital role. He's over from Louisville. And Jade McKenzie is an Ohio State transfer. So yeah, bulking up this defensive line here really, really well. Linebacker room, though, this is where you start to lose a little bit more talent. All these guys, for the most part, pretty impactful players for this defense last season. Well, Taylor Jackson and Ra Dillsworth are two guys that had over 20 tackles last season. Taylor Jackson was actually top 5 tackler with 51 tackles, a sack, 4 pass defended last season. Both of those guys are often gone through the transfer portal, and you lose another top 5 tackler in BJ Davis, who was gone due to graduation, and Jeremy Lewis, who was the 6th leading tackler for the team last year, also had 2.5 sacks, are both gone due to graduation. Ooh, those are some really talented pieces. Leaving this linebacker room, they all had a really big impact on the Pirates defense last season. So what do you have returning in this linebacker room? Well, Mike Edwards III is coming back. Hey, he was the leading tackler among linebackers last year with 59 tackles, 1 sack, and will be the leader in the linebacker room this season in 2024. Zake Barker and DJ Johnson Jr. are also names that are going to be coming back here to this team, as well as Damian Wilson, who is a transfer coming in here. I'll get you the destination 1 second. He's over from Missouri, could play a big impact on this defense here in 2024. All right, the defensive back room. Let's dive on in and talking about it. Antoine Jackson, he is going to be off and gone through the transfer portal. And Jackson, last season, 19 tackles, 3 pass defended, 1 pick, solid play out of him out of the cornerback position. So you lose a pretty talented piece there, but you lose an exceptionally talented piece and your leading tackler and your interception leader from last season when Julius Wood is gone and off to play on Sundays. 87 tackles, 1 pass defended, 2 interceptions. A very significant loss in the safety room is Julius Wood and Tegan Wilk. Another fairly important loss here to this defense as well. 10 tackles, 2 passes defended. Did have an interception last year. Again, not a huge piece, at least when you compare him to Julius Wood, but Tegan Wilk, when he did get the opportunity to see the field, saw some very good play from him. So now it's time to talk about the defensive talent that returns in the defensive back room to the East Carolina Pirates. Well, you do get Siobhan Revel Jr. back. Very important piece last year. 6 passes defended. That was actually second on the team. Let's go back to when you lose BJ Davis. He actually led the team as a linebacker in passes defended last season with 7 of them. So again, you will be losing that production from him as well. But Shavon Revel. I don't know why that name was so hard for me to say. Shavon Revel is coming back. Should be the lead corner for this team this season. You also do get Isaiah Brown Murphy, who had 22 tackles, 3 pass defended, and Tymir Brown, who's going to see an increased role in the defense this season, while Andrew Wilson Lamp is a transfer that comes into this program. We'll tell you from where in a little bit. From West Virginia. And in the safety room, you do get Dontavius Nash, Jordan Huff, Kingston McKinstry, and Devon King. All of them will be coming back here to this defense. Nash last year, 34 tackles, 2 pass defended, 1 pick. Huff had a good season last year. McKinstry had a good season last year. And by the way, I do want to say that East Carolina does have the star position on their defense. So any positions or any players that will play the star position, I have listed here in the safety room. I think the only one I have listed is Kingston McKinstry. If you want more, Greg Turner is back there. You do have a couple freshmen and transfers coming in. One of those being Gavin Gibson, who likely could see starting minutes, maybe more likely second string minutes, but he's over from the Maryland Terrapins and should provide some pretty good things out of the safety room for East Carolina this season. Now, when you talk about the kicking room, because yes, kickers are people too, we have to show them some love. Laith Marjan, while you didn't see significant playing time last year, is gone out of the kicking room, but you do return your primary punter and kicker from last season. Luke Larson is gone, or I should say Luke Larson is coming back. I literally just said he was coming back. I don't know why I switched that. Luke Larson is coming back, and Andrew Conrad is back to do the punting and kicking duties respectively. So overall, when you talk about this defense, the linebacker room is going to be that point of concern for me. Maybe not concern because, again, Mike Edwards is a very good leader. You get a talented transfer in, but it is the point on this defense that I think is the most intriguing because it's where you lost a lot of talent. It's where you have the most holes to fill. Let's see what the linebacker room looks like, but the defensive front, you know, is going to be really good. Everyone comes back, including some talented transfers. The defensive back room, I still think, is going to be really good, and this is the East Carolina defense that should take a step, maybe not necessarily in the right direction. That's what I was going to say, but now that I'm sort of thinking about how I want to word that, they could still be as good, if not maybe slightly better than last season. They could regress a little bit statistically as well, but overall, this is going to be a very good defense for the Pirates in 2024. Everything coupled together, offensive and defensively, should lead to an improved season How improved? Well, let's take a look at the East Carolina football schedule to figure that out. Any game at home is going to be underlined, while any game on the road is in italics, or of course that slanted text. Any game you see in green is a game that I think the Pirates are going to be able to win fairly easily, while any game in yellow is a close competitive one, but one I still see the Pirates being able to win. Any game in red is a loss, and we start out with the game against the Norfolk State Spartans. Now, if you remember me saying when I talked about the quarterback position, it wouldn't surprise me to see both Hauser and Garcia play in that first game. Well, it's because it's against Norfolk State. You can try out a lot of different things offensively. Look, bottom line, this should be a very easy win for the East Carolina Pirates. They should be able to get off the season on a good note. However, what works offensively, what works defensively, see how all the transfers can fit in, try a lot of different things, because I think you're going to be able to come away with a win there from that game as you improve a lot just on paper compared to what last year's team did. But when you're talking about this game, it'll just be interesting to see how everything fits together, who steps away and emerges out of the quarterback position, and whatever have you. Okay, rambled about on that one for a little too long. These next 4 games here for East Carolina, I think any 4 of them are going to be really hard for them to win. But the most winnable one is up first, and it could help you build momentum to pull off potentially a second win against any other one of those next 3 games. But the Old Dominion Monarchs, look, this is going to be a team out of the Sun Belt that sees its ups, sees its downs this year. Ricky Rain has done a phenomenal job here with this program, and I think Old Dominion is going to win for this simple reason. Grant Wilson coming back, and you get 2 really talented pieces coming over from Power 4 schools to take over as a primary rusher and possibly the lead receiver in Deontay Vines this year. And the secondary is loaded with transfers coming in that are all very talented, and they are going to give this East Carolina Pirates passing attack some fits. So I think Old Dominion wins that game there in week 2. It is a road game for the East Carolina Pirates. And then again, they can't build momentum off of that game coming out with the win. Although, even though I think they're going to play fairly decently, I don't necessarily see them winning any of these next 3 games. I don't think they're going to beat the Appalachian State Mountaineers. Again, for the same, or I guess not the same reason, but when you take a look at this App State passing attack, Joey Aguilar returns a ton of talent, and this App State defense is going to be loaded. I just think it's a bad matchup for East Carolina. App State's going to be really good this year, and it's a win for the Mountaineers. Liberty is going to be the most talented team in Conference USA this season, if not one of the most talented teams across the entire Group of 5 spectrum, and they very well are in contention to get that college football playoff spot, just as they earned the New Year's Six bowl spot last year. Caden Salter, Quentin Cooley, lots of good defensive pieces. Liberty will be beating East Carolina, even though, or I should say, I was going to say even though it is a home game, but I forgot my key for a second. That's a road game for East Carolina, which just makes it even tougher. Now, even though this one is a home game for the Pirates, I still see you losing to UTSA. Now, yes, I know UTSA lost a lot of talented pieces last season. Zakari Franklin is gone, and what feels like 80th year quarterback Frank Harris gone off that team as well. He only played 7 seasons, but it felt like a lot more than that, didn't it, Roadrunner fans? But you still got Owen McCowan at quarterback. Still some really good wide receiver pieces. Kavorian Barnes is coming back at running back. Lots of good defensive pieces, including some good transfers. Denver Harris is among them, and UTSA is still going to be very talented this season. So that is another loss. So you lose 4 straight, but you're going to be able to pick up a win here against the Charlotte 49ers, who I think can see their improvements in ways. I don't know if it leads to many more wins for them this season. And while this is a winnable game for Charlotte, I still don't love the talent that's on that roster. Biff Poggy's group, again, I think is going to see improvements in some ways this year. But overall, I do think that Charlotte is going to be not that great this year, and East Carolina's much improved. That's a win for the Pirates there in 2024. Okay, you got a road game here after your first bye week against the Army Black Knights, and I don't see you winning this one either. Army's going to be a very aggressive defense this year, and they got a ton of really good returning pieces offensively. Remember, this team was not faring too well last season. Then they switched their offensive game plan. They gave it some tweaks, and they started to win a lot of football games. That's going to happen again here. That transition is going to continue for Army. They're going to see some really good success, and they will be beating East Carolina this upcoming season. But East Carolina, I think, is going to go on a little bit of a win streak here. Now, you are going to be able to beat the Temple Owls, who I just don't think are going to be very good this season. You lose E.J. Warner at the quarterback position. A lot of other really talented pieces are gone. And overall, I just think Temple definitely could potentially be one of the worst teams in the conference this, or I should say, one of the worst teams in the conference, but also one of the worst teams in the nation this upcoming season. I just don't see good fortunes for Temple, and East Carolina is more talented. They get the game at home. They're going to be able to win that game. Now, even though I do think the FAU Owls are more talented, I think there are a lot of things playing into East Carolina's favor here in this game. One, I think that they are going to be, again, I've said this many, many times. East Carolina is going to be more talented here, but they also are going to be well rested. It is a weekday game, it's a home game, and FAU, while they're going to improve from where they were last season, I think there are still going to be some things with that team where they see some inconsistency issues. Maybe they have one or two performances where they don't quite necessarily play the caliber of football that a lot of Owls fans know they're capable of playing. This game I see being one of them. Again, I think FAU is more talented. I think at the end of the day, at the end of the season, they will be the better team on paper, but East Carolina has enough pieces here to at very least make it competitive, but they definitely have enough pieces to win, and I think they do. However, I do not see good fortunes for East Carolina the rest of the way here. They lose this game against the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, one of the more tricky individual teams to try to figure out here in the American Athletic, but you do return some really good pieces off of last year's team. They could see a jump in play in a lot of different ways. Tulsa going to be one of those teams in contention for a bowl game spot, and it's a road game on a weekday coming off a close emotional win against FAU. East Carolina loses that one, and they lose to North Texas as well. Chandler Morris is coming in to play quarterback, and he has a lot of really revamped rooms there. North Texas brought in a ton of transfers, but they're still going to be really talented this season. That's a loss for East Carolina. And I also think you'll lose this game to Navy here. Navy, a team that's changing their offensive philosophy. They're also going to be aggressive on defense, and I think Brian Newberry has this team trending in a good direction. East Carolina, again, couldn't handle the physicality at Army. That's the way I see it. See that being the same thing there against another Armed Forces Academy team in the Navy Midshipmen. So overall, 4-8, which, yes, is an improvement from last season, but this team can improve so much more from 4-8. Army, Navy, those are some winnable games. So is Tulsa, so is Old Dominion. Maybe you pull off an upset against one of these teams at home like App State or maybe even UTSA. You can go on the road and pick up some big wins. Bottom line, this team is going to improve from where they were last year. To me, I think it's going to be a little tricky to make a bowl game for this team this season, just with everything trying to fit in and things like that. But it's absolutely possible, and I'll be rooting hard for Mike Houston's group this year. But I got 4-8. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And remember to play hard but tailgate harder. In my next video, we'll be moving on to the FIU Panthers. Goodbye.